Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the KVI studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, somebody who's a harm reduction employee gets arrested for dealing drugs. Oh, shock, shock. But before we get to any of that, time for your daily dose of adrenaline.
You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you f***ing nuts?
For months now, literally for months, Democrats have been saying, where's the autopsy? Where's the autopsy? Where's the autopsy? What is the autopsy? Democrats are trying to figure out why they lost so bad. Typically, after an election, any party that has any brains in its head is going to look at it and go, what went right? What went wrong? Look, even a good election outcome, you want to go, where can we improve? An after-action report. Now, in 2012, when Mitt Romney got destroyed by Barack Obama, the Republicans did something similar, and they created a report, and it was known as the autopsy because Republicans lost so bad. So now the Democrats are doing the exact same thing, and it's been called the autopsy because for them, losing to President Trump is like dying. Oh, how can I go on? Oh, life is so terrible. The orange man is back in the White House. Well, they've been pressuring to see this thing since February. Now, I'll admit, and I'll take the Democrats' side on this, or at least the DNC's side on this for a second. If you want to do it right, it takes time. I don't think it should have taken this long. If I polled a whole bunch of you, and I said, why do you think the Democrats lost the election? You would tell me one of the following reasons. And feel free to call in or text in with your own. One, the Democrats never admitted that they just dropped Joe Biden. The Democrats never admitted that Joe Biden was senile. The Democrats never had a primary to replace Joe Biden. The Democrats anointed cackling Kamala. Kamala Harris was a terrible candidate. They had no actual policies. They were running on crazy. And in addition to that, their base was off supporting terrorist organizations and things that the majority of Americans oppose. Look at that. That's without any analysis whatsoever. That's just off the top of my head. Did I miss anything? That was pretty good. I got to say, off the top of my head, no prep, just rattling all that off. That was pretty good. I'm pretty impressed with me. None of that's in the report. None of that is in the report at all. None of it. So this thing comes out, and the Democrats are mad going, this is it? This is what you spent all this time on? And the Republicans are going, this thing is a disaster. This thing shows me a couple of things. One, the Democrats are a disaster. And as bad as it's looking for the GOP come the midterms, if this is the party we're up against, we're in good shape. We shouldn't get complacent, by the way. But it shows that the DNC itself is an absolute disaster. Now, was this a head fake? Could they be putting this out there to say, oh, we're such a disaster. Oh, no, but really they have their stuff together? I don't know. This is pretty bad because here's what the DNC chair, Ken Martin, said. He put this out there. This is in the Blueprint, which is their little magazine. I'm just reading from him. I was elected chair of the Democratic National Committee 3 months ago after one of the most painful and consequential election losses for Democrats in modern history. It was a punch to the gut, and people were pissed off. How, we all asked, could Democrats have lost to Donald Trump again? How do we blow through billions of dollars, and where do we go from here? When I commissioned a comprehensive review of the 2024 election, I started a process to answer those questions while interrogating where our party was systemically and historically fallen short. I did not want that process led by anybody directly tied to the 2024 cycle, either the campaign or the consultants involved, and I did not want to put my own thumb on the scale for what might be produced. What I did ask for were actionable takeaways for the future. I wanted real, in-depth, specific recommendations to improve our allocation of resources, tech, data, organizing, media strategy, and more. I chose someone who I thought could produce this type of report. When I received the report late last year, it wasn't ready for prime time, not even close. And because no source material was provided, fixing it would have meant starting over from the beginning, every conversation, every interview, every data set. Stop. then that's what you should have done. Fired the person who you hired to do it. Hey, call me. I'll do it for you. How many millions of dollars did you pay the guy who screwed this thing up? Because this is a disaster. I could have done it for you for a fraction of the price. Actually, I probably would have charged you more because you're Democrats. At the time, Democrats had just come off a series of massive wins in November's off-year elections, and midterm season was about to start. In December, I announced we should shelve this report, and I meant what I said at the time, that I didn't think dwelling on 2024 or looking backwards so late in the game helped us win elections. At the end of the day, winning elections is my job. In short, I didn't want a distraction. Ironically, in doing so, I ended up creating an even bigger distraction. And for that, I sincerely apologize. I am not proud of this product. It does not meet my standards, and it won't meet your standards. I don't endorse what's in this report or what's left out of it. I could not in good faith put the DNC stamp of approval on it, but transparency is paramount. So today I am releasing the report as I received it, in its entirety, unedited, unabridged, with annotations for claims that couldn't be verified. Wait a second. So you're getting so much pressure to release the report. You're releasing this garbage, absolutely garbage report and hoping for the best? That's what it is? Okay, so let's see what they think happened. And let's compare that to reality for a second, okay? The Democrats claim they became organizationally weak, geographically concentrated, culturally disconnected from large portions of the country, and overly dependent on late-cycle media and anti-Trump messaging. That's actually all accurate. All of that is accurate. It's what they left out that you got to ask why they left out. So the authors of the report believe that Democrats abandoned state parties. Yes, they did. In a lot of places, they completely left out certain states. Abandoned rural America. Yes, they did. Stopped year-round organizing. Now, this is interesting. Who usually does the organizing for the Democrats? The radical left. What was the radical left busy doing? They were organizing for Hamas. They were organizing against Jews. They were organizing for Hezbollah. They were organizing on college campuses. They were organizing for all that. They weren't organizing for the Democrats. In fact, they were protesting the Democrats. They were disrupting Kamala Harris's campaign events. In fact, they still do it when she's on her book tour. So your stormtroopers weren't working for you. Outsource politics to consultants and TV ads. Well, yeah, that's always a bad idea, and I tell Republicans the same thing. Over-focused on national presidential cycles. Okay. Lost working class trust. Yes. Why did you lose that? And actually, this is a cautionary tale for the right. Why did you lose that? Because you kept downplaying their concerns about the economy. Because you kept taking the wrong side in 80-20 issues, like when it came to public safety, when it came to the border, when it came to the trans ideology and the woke nonsense. Failed to build durable relationships with voters. That's a nice way of saying Kamala and Democrats seem out of touch and don't connect. They're right about all of this. So why would they leave out everything else? Why would they leave out everything else? What, you don't want to offend Joe Biden? He'll never read the thing. You don't want to offend Jill Biden? They're out of power. You don't want to offend Kamala Harris? You're worried about her coming back? Who do you not want to offend, or maybe you just don't want to admit how bad your radical activism is in your party, which is what I think actually happened. The authors noted regarding the Electoral College and geographic analysis, Democrats are becoming too geographically concentrated. Oh, they're fleeing red states to go to blue states? Or they're just all hanging out in New York and Seattle and Los Angeles and Chicago together? Republican votes are far more efficiently distributed, which is why Republicans were able to win enough districts to deliver the swing states. Electoral college math increasingly favors Republicans. Senate structure favors Republicans. And future census/reapportionment trends could worsen Democratic advantages. They lost rural areas by massive margins, and continuing to lose them is unsustainable, which means you lost middle America, you lost flyover land. Democrats cannot survive as purely urban metro coalition. Oh, you think? And long-term population shifts, aka COVID, threaten future Democratic presidential paths. Every lost House seat after reapportionment means another lost Electoral College vote. Blue state population decline weakens Democrats structurally. All the stuff about the electoral process. What does it actually mean? People are fleeing blue states for red states. So the red states are going to pick up congressional seats. So the red states are going to have more people, more votes, more power. Blue state population weakens Democrats structurally. There's something else here where actually this is encouraging for the right. You know how we always talk about the mainstream media? Well, here the report blames Democrats for relying too heavily on the lamestream media and the late night talk show hosts, acknowledging that they don't have an infrastructure like we have with talk radio, with podcasts, with the Daily Wire, with the Blaze, with everything Republicans built because they got kicked out of the mainstream media, because they get censored by the mainstream media. And they said relying on that is a problem. So why do you think Democrats are now going to Pod Save America, John Favreau? Why do you think they're going to Hassan Piker? Because they think that's the way to go, not realizing these guys are absolute lunatics and that their policies alienate the average American. So what was missing from this thing? The most glaring omission is Joe Biden's age and Joe Biden's health. That is the most glaring thing, that Joe Biden wasn't up to the task. It never talks about Biden's visible decline, public distrust after the debate. I would argue the debate is when the Democrats lost it, when you see Joe Biden unable to even coherently form a sentence, and you've got Donald Trump not even at his best, stomping all over him. What about Democratic credibility? After that, completely out the window, out the window. The report constantly talks about trust, but avoids discussing one of the largest trust collapses of the entire cycle. What else did it leave out? Kamala Harris herself as a candidate. They say she had messaging failures, branding problems, and timeline constraints. Oh, we're still going to blame it on the 100 days? It avoids discussing why was she unpopular? Why did voters not trust her or like her? Why did they see her as inauthentic? Was she politically overmatched against Donald Trump? And did Democrats misjudge her viability? It also does not discuss that she didn't perform well in the 2020 primary, and yet they ran her for president. It didn't discuss how she sucked in every interview they had, how she couldn't separate herself from Biden because she kept claiming she was running the show with Joe Biden. And also, you never knew what she actually stood for. So that's some kind of important stuff you left out there. Here's another one. I did a quick search for certain words in this report, and you know what was missing from it? I searched up Israel, Gaza, Palestine. Those are never mentioned. Never, ever, ever mentioned. The report does talk about youth disengagement, why they lost irregular voters, and why their coalition is falling apart. Do you know why that is? Because the far left saw Kamala Harris and Joe Biden as pro-Israel, which they weren't. You know, that Joe Biden refunded the Palestinian Authority's Pay for Slay program, which is where they pay terrorists to go kill people in Israel. And Joe Biden took off the sanctions and restrictions on Iranian money, which funded a terrorist regime. All that led to October 7th and everything that came after that. So now they got to clean up their mess. And the left saw them as being too pro-Israel. And the left kept protesting them. Remember all those efforts to tell people to stay home and not vote for Kamala Harris to get the message out there? Well, the message is out there. And if you're looking at the primaries right now, the message has been learned by some of these people where what they're doing, the radical left, the anti-Israel, the pro-Hamas, the pro-terror wing of the party, they're the ones who are challenging the far left Democrats thinking they're not far left enough, or the moderate Democrats thinking they're definitely not far left enough. It doesn't address the protests, the campus unrest, all the anti-American stuff, Muslim voter shifts, progressives being angry about the war overall, or generational fractures over Israel. Michigan. All of this was in play in Michigan. All of this was in play with youth turnout. All of this was there. And yet none of it was discussed in this report. None of it. It didn't discuss the border. You can't have all these families, these angel families out there, talking about how they lost their kids, lost loved ones, which they shouldn't have because of criminal illegal aliens, and then say, oh, no, we're going to ignore that because we got to keep bringing people over the border. They didn't discuss it at all. They left it out. Left it out. They left out everything about COVID. Everything. Completely left that out. Gone. We're not going to discuss this. Left it all out. They left out the economy and how the average American felt. So they just used broad strokes like, oh, well, you know, we were alienating voters, or we weren't communicating well with voters, or our messaging was off with voters. They don't want to admit the real problem. The real problem is the Democrats don't know what they stand for. The real problem is this coalition that the Democrats have built of far left activists, which they built. Actually, this is Obama's fault. Obama cobbled together this coalition in 2012 to beat Mitt Romney because Obama was so unpopular after Obamacare and so many people were running away from him. He said, if I lost the moderate Democrats, I got to go after the far left. And the truth is, Obama was a far left guy. So he cobbles together this coalition, and that's the one who's been trying to take over the Democrat Party, which is why you're seeing Barack Obama around now championing them, talking about how great Hassan Piker and all these guys on the far left, anti-Israel, woke extremist, Antifa-supporting lunatics are, because that's who's running the Democrat Party. This thing is called the Autopsy. And I'll tell you, it's a little bit more true than you realize. It's a terrible report. But the Democrat Party is dead. The Democrat Party that many of you think you are members of does not exist anymore. This is now the party of Hassan Piker. This is the party of Anna Kasparian and Cenk Uygur from the Young Turks. This is the party of Pod Save America. This is the party of the campus protesters. This is the party of the trans male inmates in prisons in Washington abusing females. This is the party of illegal alien criminals killing people in the streets, whether it's with drugs or actually murdering them. Your party has been taken over by Antifa radicals. This is the autopsy of the Democrat Party in more ways than just why they lost an election. This is why you lost your party. And to my Republican friends out there who are celebrating Dems being in disarray, this is a cautionary tale for you. And the reason it's a cautionary tale for you is it shows you what you're up against. And if you think, oh, they're in disarray, the far, far, far left isn't in disarray. And if the Republican Party can become the MAGA party, and Trump can turn the Republican Party into what MAGA is. I'm not saying I have a problem with that. I'm just saying that's what happened. When the Republicans had no messaging, when Republicans had no idea to win, that means the far left can do the exact same thing to the Democrats. And you need to look at this and realize you are not running against your daddy's Democrats. You are running against the Antifa-supporting, Hamas-loving, absolute lunatics that are out there in the streets. You may think they're easier to win, but that's the youth vote they are cultivating. And you got to watch out for these small elections across the country because those are the ones they're targeting. And that's how they took power of every single level in Washington government, by going further and further and further to the left like a frog on a hot plate, turning up the heat a little bit at a time until people didn't even realize it was too late. Don't say I didn't warn you. We go to the KVI studio line. Take a call from our friend Transit Joe. Transit Joe, what's up, man?
So I agree with you that the Democratic Party's got to have a real reckoning here. On one hand, they've got they have the governor finally take a small step and recognize the bigotry and hate Jews have experienced. And then the governor's own tweet or post is covered in so much anti-Semitism. You would believe that it was Governor Bob Ferguson of Gaza and not Washington.
Yeah, and also you should be asking yourself why he's celebrating Jewish American Heritage Month on the 20th, 21st day of the month, rather than the first day of the month. What was he waiting for this whole time? Not that I really care about Jewish American Heritage Month. I don't celebrate it or anything. I didn't even know we had a month. But why is he waiting until the 20th to actually say anything about it? And why hasn't he said anything about the attack on Jews at a fundraiser in Seattle 4 weeks ago?
Those are all fair and legitimate questions, because on the other hand, we have the great Jewish American Zimmerman war hero, Vanessa Kritzer, who's running in the 45th legislative district as a Democrat. And where is Bobby Ferguson in defending the great Jews of the East Side?
Joe, nobody even knows she's running. I gotta tell you that, man. Nobody knows she's running right now. That's not a race that anybody's watching. I don't think that's the concern here. I think the concern is Lauren Davis. The concern is Lauren Davis, who is running, who's a left-leaning Democrat. Up until recently, I would call her a far left-leaning Democrat, but she's moderated recently, realizing her juvenile rehabilitation programs aren't working out and her juvenile public safety stuff isn't working out, so she's open to change. She's being challenged by Imran Siddiqui, who is head of the local chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations, which is an unindicted terrorist group. Okay, we all know this. That's what they actually are. They were a link to the Holy Land Foundation. That's what you got to be worried about right now, Joe. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. Or let us know what you think is missing from this report. Give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. Why do you think the Democrats lost in 2024? We'll let the theories commence when we come back. Also, when we come back, my friends, a person who's in charge of giving out harm reduction supplies arrested for drug dealing. Give you all details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show. Kevin, you know how we love to beat up on Pacific Place about how there's nobody in Pacific Place and how it's empty all the time and how there's no stores and the only thing there is like a Thai place and the AMC theaters and the Johnny Rockets and that's all in, but occasionally from time to time a special exhibit comes through.
Yeah, didn't you go see like some sort of Friends exhibit
exactly.
or some nonsense like that? They set up shop in the old Barnes & Noble, which now apparently there's a new Barnes & Noble that just
smaller,
opened
tinier.
up downtown. Oh, yeah, for sure, for sure.
That's for the cruise people, by the way. I looked into that. Apparently it's for cruise people buying books before they go on the cruises. That's what it's for. So they have a new purpose for Pacific Place. You ready for this? It's going to be one of the fun zones for the World Cup. So they're going to have all these zones of soccer all over the empty mall where there's nothing, including a giant screen showing the World Cup floor to ceiling.
Got it. Yeah, it's one of the viewing places that you can go to, much like the barge that you talked about.
Much like the barge, right. So where can we find an empty place in downtown Seattle? Well, most of the office buildings don't make sense because those are kind of separated out, but big open space, Pacific Place.
Plenty of room there.
Now, actually, this is a problem for you and me. I'm going to tell you why this is a problem for you and me. We got some movie premieres coming up, and I really hope they're not at Pacific Place. We're going to have parking issues, or will we? Because think about this. Are a lot of people going to downtown Seattle to watch the games? We keep hearing the numbers they're expecting are dropping and dropping and dropping.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if it's one of those things, too, where people come to town and maybe they come for one game because it's really expensive, and maybe they would watch some of the other games at one of these, get-togethers where you can watch the stuff. I do want to give a shout-out for that to the cookie place there. I think it's called Midnight Cookies.
Oh, the one downstairs.
Yeah, the one
near the elevators.
It's brilliantly set up. It's near the elevators and right next to where you pay for your parking.
Yes.
And
so while you're in line, just, hey, let me grab a cookie or whatever.
You smell it, you turn around, you're like, I might as well buy a couple of those. And they're really good.
They look really good. You're right. The cookie and AT&T. AT&T's down there as well. Can't forget AT&T. Now, meanwhile, we know one of the reasons that people don't want to go to Seattle's downtown core is because of all the drug problems. And how has Seattle decided to deal with this? Seattle has decided to deal with this with what they call harm reduction. And what that means is we're going to give you the needles you inject yourself with so you don't get HIV. You can kill yourself with whatever you're injecting yourself with, heroin or fentanyl or whatever, but now you won't have AIDS, even though it doesn't actually do that. And then, hey, hang on, we're going to get a clean spoon and fresh foil to heat up all your stuff. We're going to show you how to inject it. In fact, we're going to watch you inject it, and maybe we'll be able to save your life. And I've been saying you're literally helping people commit suicide. You're literally part of this. So it's not suicide anymore. It's homicide. Well, then I saw this story from the Department of Justice. A Culver City man who works for a nonprofit organization that distributes syringes to homeless drug users in Los Angeles and elsewhere was arrested today on a federal criminal complaint charging him with possessing fentanyl when police pulled him over while he drove a BMW near MacArthur Park earlier this month. For those of you who don't know MacArthur Park, that is the drug den of Los Angeles. The things you see in the movies, that's MacArthur Park. Christopher Barrett Johnson is charged with possession with intent to distribute fentanyl. Wait, he's just doing his job. It's clean fentanyl. Don't we have places around here that want to put it in vending machines? It's clean fentanyl, right? Right? It's fine. It should be. It's harm reduction. Oh, you mean that when they always say, we're not giving out drugs, they're actually giving out drugs? When I went to the injection site up in Vancouver and they let me in and they let me walk around inside that place, they had a safe. And you know what was in the safe? Drugs. So whenever they claim, we're not actually giving out drugs, we're just helping them, they're giving out drugs. Or was this guy a full-on drug dealer? And I ask you, what's the difference? Johnson works for People Assisting the Homeless, a nationwide nonprofit that offers services to homeless people, including street outreach, interim, and permanent housing. Path also serves as a vendor distributing syringes, including in MacArthur Park, a sector of the city characterized by high rates of poverty, with many of its residents and visitors being drug users. Oh, you think? Johnson is expected to make his initial appearance in court tomorrow. And then, according to an affidavit, during the late evening of May 5th, Los Angeles police officers patrolling the area, which is notorious for the use, They saw these open-air markets. They observed the BMW without a license plate conducting a U-turn. They did a traffic stop. Wait, we shouldn't do traffic stops, right? They're bad. Traffic stops are bad. That's what the Democrats say. The vehicle's sole occupant was Johnson, who appeared very nervous. After speaking with him, they noticed sitting on the dashboard was a baggie of methamphetamine. He was also carrying knives in his waistband. They ordered him out of the car. They found meth in his pants. They also found a backpack with more meth, more fentanyl, a digital scale that had fentanyl residue on it, empty plastic bags, and cash. Sounds like a drug dealer to me. They also found more drugs, including a substance that contained fentanyl and 46 grams of methamphetamine. So, is this a guy who's just doing his job for the homeless for harm reduction because this is what they believe in? Or is he an actual drug dealer? Or is there no difference whatsoever? And this may be happening in Los Angeles, but you know damn well it's happening here in Seattle as well, and anywhere else they claim they're doing harm reduction. Up next, my friends, the feds are cracking down on this drug insanity, and they're also cracking down on fraud. We'll give you all details of the latest indictments and prosecutions announced today. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. If we had a normal world, this year's Pulitzer Prize would go to Nick Shirley. It seems that Nick Shirley, with his video exposing all the daycare fraud, all the home care fraud, all the elderly care fraud, started a revolution when, even though the Democrats were demonizing it, fraud is now the chic thing where everybody wants to combat it because nobody can justify it. Nobody can justify it. We've had stories this week where even King County now wants investigations of the fraud. And I actually think that what's happening is, take Gurmay Zahalai, right? Gurmay Zahalai, he's the King County executive. which basically means mayor of King County. He was on the King County Council before this. So he supported a bunch of this nonsense. But they all see that Tim Walz couldn't run for re-election. They all see that his political career is over. So what I think they are all doing is CYA, covering their you-know-whats. They are covering it because they want to have a future and they realize nobody can justify this. Oh, I'm not saying they won't find other ways to do this later. Like we discussed yesterday with the far-left radical activists here in Seattle saying to somebody dumb like Katie Wilson who still doesn't get it, and they're saying, we need you to pay for the housing and the food and the medicine and the everything and the lawyers for the tens of thousands of trans refugees who are coming to Seattle. It's just another money grift, especially when somebody dumb like Mayor Fivehead says, oh, yeah, we're gonna get you all the money you need, even though we have a massive budget deficit. That's what's going to happen. So there will be more fraud, which will have to be investigated. It will be out there. But for right now, everybody's looking into fraud. And today, the Justice Department dropped a hammer and announced the Minnesota healthcare fraud takedown, which resulted in criminal charges against 15 defendants, including owners of child care centers and various Medicaid providers, for their alleged participation in various fraud schemes involving over $90 million in intended loss, including the two largest Medicaid fraud cases ever charged in the district, first of their kind charges involving additional Medicaid programs. The Justice Department also announced a major investment in combating Medicaid fraud through a significant expansion of the division's healthcare fraud section, allocating funding to permit the hiring of 15 new trial attorney positions to combat Medicaid fraud across the United States. I mean, this is one of the biggest fraud busts ever in the U.S. They say the largest Medicaid autism fraud case ever charged by the department. Two defendants were charged in connection with an approximately $46.6 million scheme to defraud the Early Intensive Development and Behavioral Intervention Program, a program funded by Minnesota Healthcare Program that offers medically necessary services to people under the age of 21 with autism spectrum disorder. Now, these are the guys who were signing up kids who didn't have autism and they didn't exist, or they did exist and people were using real names, but the kids didn't have autism, and defrauding the government that way. Which means also when Minnesota says we don't have the funds to pay for other things or real autism, it's because it's all going to fraud. As alleged, the defendants paid kickbacks to parents who brought their children to autism centers, diagnosed children with autism regardless of medical necessity, and billed for autism services that were not actually provided, depriving children who did need assistance of needing care. This is something else the Democrats can't wrap their heads around, or maybe now they're finally wrapping their heads around, which is that if the money's being spent on fraud, it's not being spent on the services you guys claim to champion. It makes you all look like a bunch of hypocrites. In the Integrated Community Supports Program, one defendant was charged with a $1.4 million scheme to bill for services that were not provided as represented. ICS is a Minnesota Medicaid benefit designed to fill a gap in the service continuum between a person living in their own home and more restrictive services such as group homes and assisted living. So basically, these people were saying, yeah, we're taking care of whatever relative, and there was no relative. Or they were just sitting at home with mom, or they were going to the job and claiming they were sitting home with their brother or sister or whoever it was. Millions of dollars flowing through this. Fraud after fraud after fraud. They also had the same kind of thing in individualized home supports. Charges were brought against 8 defendants for defrauding housing stabilization services of approximately $15.7 million. Some of the defendants were residents of Pennsylvania who engaged in fraud tourism, knowing they could get away with this in Minnesota, and traveled there for lucrative opportunities to commit fraud. This is, guys, the amount of stuff. They were using Medicaid money for coverage for HSS, the program for medical assistance benefit designed to help people with disabilities, including seniors and people with mental illnesses and substance abuse disorders, to find and maintain housing. But these people saw there was fraud, took advantage of it. Feeding our future. That was another part of this. The child care fraud. The department announced charges against 2 defendants in connection with defrauding state and federal programs designed to subsidize child care. Oh, you mean all these daycares that aren't actually daycares? This is a massive indictment. I don't think I've ever seen one. This is the press release for the indictment. I don't think I've ever seen a press release this long before. But this is what they're cracking down on. So in response to this, I just say, hey, guys, can you come out here to Washington? Please, oh, please, oh, please, can you come on out here? Because I guarantee you're going to find a lot of the same stuff. In fact, one of our listeners is helping me track down a bunch of it. And right after Memorial Day weekend, we're going to be opening up a whole bunch of investigations on these fraudulent daycares. Again, I should say, allegedly fraudulent daycares. One of our amazing listeners is helping me out. Because remember when Bob Ferguson released that list of the daycares that were getting funding? You remember that? But then he blurred out a few of them and said, oh, no, we're not going to tell you who these ones are. And we had to pressure them to give us a list. Well, now that we have the list, we found out why he was covering it up. That's going to be after Memorial Day. We'll have all the details on that for all of you. Make sure you are following me on socials, Ari Hoffman Official on Facebook and Instagram, The Hofffather over on X. Up next, my friends, the ACLU is now defending convicted rapists and murderers who are abusing women in Washington prisons. The left has lost its mind. Give you all details when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Before we get to all things woke, my friends, today you have 3 opportunities to win fantabulous prizes. So, we are giving away a pair of tickets to Bingo Loco at the Snoqualmie Casino, the interactive stage show which takes the concept of bingo and puts it on steroids. You got DJs playing the best music, you got comedians, you got incredible prizes, you got confetti showers, you got dance-offs. It's the most extreme bingo you've ever seen in your life. That's happening at the casino, Snoqualmie Casino. You can get your tickets at snowcasino.com. That's SNO casino.com. All you have to do for your chance to win 2 tickets to Bingo Loco at Snoqualmie Casino is text the word bingo, as in there was a farmer who had a dog and bingo was his name-o, as in Bingo Loco. Text the word bingo, B-I-N-G-O, that's B-I-N-G-O, and bingo was his name. Just text bingo, B-I-N-G-O, to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Just when you think it can't get any crazier. Our big story this week has been that the Justice Department is coming down like a ton of bricks on Washington State for putting biological men in prison cells with women. Biological men who are in prison for murder, for rape, for child molestation, and they have all their equipment intact. And they're forcing them into cells with biological women. So, things have happened. There have been assaults, according to these women. They are alleging horrible abuse, violence, sexual assaults, you name it. And Washington State goes, no problem. We don't see a problem. So the Justice Department rides to the rescue. At the same time that the Justice Department announced that they were dropping the hammer on Washington State and starting to investigate this, I got back a public disclosure request, which showed that Washington State has spent over $5 million on trans surgeries and treatments, including laser hair removal surgery for trans inmates for some of these psychopaths. So your taxpayer dollars are going to pay for that, and it's grown exponentially the amount of money they've been spending in 2026 and 2025, which means they're spending more and more and more and more. So as all this is happening, you go, nobody can defend this. Nobody can. Even people who are friendlier to the LGB cause or the TQ cause or anything, you cannot defend this. There is no way to defend this. Well, along comes the American Civil Liberties Union of Washington State and saying, hold my Bud Light. They are all mad that the Justice Department is investigating this. They are all mad. They wrote this. You ready? Federal and state law require that prisons consider a person's gender identity and make individualized decisions about housing placements for transgender prisoners. These protections exist because of the serious safety risks facing incarcerated transgender people, particularly transgender women. So not the women who are being allegedly abused by these guys. No. The risks are for the men who identify as women. The Department of Justice announcement that is launching an investigation into placement of transgender women at the Washington Correction Center for Women represents another troubling move by the federal government to target transgender people. The ACLU of Washington remains steadfast in our commitment to protecting the rights of transgender people in Washington State, including those who are incarcerated. What about the women? What about the women who are forced to share cells and get abused by these guys? Congratulations, my friends. It's no longer believe all women. It's believe all trans women, which means biological men who think that they're women. The ACLU is literally riding to the rescue to defend men who are rapists, child molesters, and murderers. And it's not me saying that. It's not alleged. That's why they are in jail. And the ACLU is defending them. All right, where's Norm Macdonald when you need him, like with his terrorist joke? That's really what this is. It's the meme I see all the time that if there was a zombie apocalypse today, there'd be an activist group that's out there defending the zombies. This is literally what it is. This is the ACLU. Hey, when are we going to investigate the ACLU the same way that the Southern Poverty Law Center was investigated? I think they're ripe for it. Oh, by the way, before I forget, while we're still on this topic, I know times are tough, and I know you could use a little bit of extra money. So I want to let you all know about a job position that's available in the state of Washington from the Department of Corrections, as a matter of fact. Physician 3, transgender medical specialist. Would you like to know how much the transgender medical specialist gets at the Department of Corrections? The salary range is between $207,000 a year and $275,000 a year to analyze, direct, and coordinate medical care provided to transgender incarcerated individuals statewide. So as if we weren't spending enough money on this already, now we need to spend $250,000 plus per year on a salary for a person to deal with the rapists, murderers, and child molesters who claim that they are trans. That's Washington State. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from Ron in Tacoma. Ron, what's up, man?
A couple things. Maybe we got to give the Democrats a break. They're very uneducated, and maybe they just have a misunderstanding of the penal code. Anyway, so
boo, boo. Continue. Yes, keep going.
I just wanted to weigh in on the 5,000-pound jackass in the room.
Careful, Ron. Careful.
Yep. I just wanted to say, hey, at one point, do we start looking at the Democrat Party as not as a political organization, but as the crime organization that they are?
Well, I think that's exactly what's happening, because who are the ones who actually open the doors for a lot of this fraud? Ron, wish we had more time. Got to run, though. Got that break coming up. When we come back, my friends, more businesses leaving Washington. Economic outlook not good. We'll tell you how bad it is when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text KVI studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, a local school superintendent is arrested for not reporting sexual abuse. Is this finally the beginning of a trend? And will other districts learn their lessons? But before we get to any of that, I know these online polls are meaningless. I know they are. They are not scientific. You don't know if it's people actually from your area taking the polls. You have no way of knowing. But there was something interesting I saw this morning on Como News. Como News had up a poll that said, would you consider moving to a state with lower taxes? It was a discussion about the income tax and all the other taxing here in Washington. When I saw it, and it was relatively soon into being posted, it had over 7,000 votes. 79% of these people said they would consider moving to a state with lower taxes. 79%. I assume the other 21% are the Democrats in Olympia or the people grifting off the taxes. 79%. Now, even though this is not scientific, even though this is an online poll, these are the numbers we've seen. In fact, I don't know anybody who hasn't discussed it. Anytime this comes up in casual conversation with my friends, yep, we've talked about it, but we can't go because of mom or grandma or kids or job or whatever the case may be. I think it's pretty much everybody has discussed it. I mean, yeah, there's the Democrats that go, I'm going to keep this grift going as long as I can, and then I'm going to pull a Jay Inslee and move to Idaho. But this is how bad things are. In fact, Fox News is taking another run at Katie Wilson. So what happened was the other day, Rob Saka, Seattle City Council member, Rob Saka, does an interview with the New York Times talking about how he's worried about Katie Wilson. Well, dude, you supported her, so I don't really want to hear it. We all knew this was a problem. Here's what he told the Center Square after that interview.
I personally disagree with the approach that I think we all saw clips of, but I am personally concerned that Starbucks is leaving, and what that means for our city's economic vitality, jobs, potential job growth or lack thereof, and again, what it means not only just for our city, but for our region.
Okay, where is your bill to lower taxes? Where is your bill to make it a more friendly business environment for Seattle? Where is your bill to investigate fraud in Homeless Inc.? Where is the action? You can say whatever you want, man, but where is the action? You're tired of Katie Wilson? You think she's dangerous? You think jobs are leaving? Where's your effort to change it? We know why jobs are leaving. They have said so. The Jumpstart tax, which is a tax on high earners, which is a tax on jobs. Tennessee is giving incentives. Nashville, Tennessee is giving incentives for bringing jobs to town, and you are taxing them. Where's your bill to repeal the Jumpstart tax? It may be too late already. Amazon's already gone. Maybe you have a chance of keeping some of the jobs here. They're already long gone. Where is your bill to repeal it? Very, very simple. Where is your bill to deal with any of this? Where is your bill to investigate fraud? Oh, wait, he does have a bill. We discussed this at length yesterday. Do you know what his bill is for? A $1.5 billion bond to redo Seattle Center. That'll fix it. Let's redo Seattle Center. That'll stop Starbucks from leaving, right? Who's going to go to Seattle Center? So you want to get a bond. You want to take out a loan to redo Seattle Center. I got an idea. How about you go to Starbucks? Oh, wait. Can't go to Starbucks. You can't ask them. I mean, that would have been nice. Here, perfect one for you. The Starbucks Armory, the Starbucks Food Court, the Starbucks Pavilion. Oh, wait, there's not even a Starbucks there anymore because you closed it, right? That's just not going to happen. Memorial Stadium. How about you just call it the Alaska Airlines Arena like you did with UW or Boeing? Who doesn't have an arena yet? Who can we go to? Xfinity? REI. Oh, REI. Oh, you're too busy protesting. Can't go to REI, can you now? How about Amazon? Huh, can't go to them. Well, who can you go to? They criticize Trump's ballroom. But, that actually has a practical function. And I'm not saying tourism isn't practical, but you're losing the jobs. You're losing everybody who is going to pay the bills for your insanity, for your project. And you still want to go forward with it? I would love to see Seattle Center revitalized. I used to walk to it all the time because it's 2 blocks away from us. I like walking through Seattle Center. I used to like taking my kids to Seattle Center. $1.5 billion, you got to rationalize that one for me. You got to rationalize that for me. You really do. Fox News was calling out Katie Wilson and how now she's kind of changing her tune about, maybe I was a little too rough on Starbucks. Oh, you think the day you're elected mayor of Seattle, you're not even the mayor yet, the first stop you make is you go to support the baristas who are on strike outside of Starbucks. You go down there to march with them and call on everybody to boycott Starbucks, one of the largest employers in your city. That was your first move as mayor-elect. Your first one. And then when you heard high earners are leaving, wealth is leaving, you said, bye. Well, now everybody's actually leaving. Are you still saying bye? I think she realizes she has a real problem now, don't you think? Yeah, seems like this is getting worse and worse and worse. So her now all of a sudden trying to change her tune isn't really working. Fox News said conservative radio host Ari Hoffman blasted Seattle leaders in a post on X, writing that the city is once again a national embarrassment. Yes, I did write that. Quote, this time, thanks to socialist Mayor Katie Wilson telling everybody to boycott Starbucks the day she gets elected, then Starbucks announces they are leaving, and when asked about Capital Flight, she says bye and giggles, Hoffman wrote. Yes, exactly right. In fact, this thing is really just a hit piece on Katie Wilson, how everybody's calling her out across the country, like pollster Scott Rasmussen, who also weighed in an X, arguing that Wilson's comments reflect broader voter concerns over whether high taxes and anti-business rhetoric are driving wealthy residents and investments out of blue cities. Oh, you bet they are. There's a new report from Mountain State Policy by our friend Jason Mercier. He said this finding from Evergreen State's Economic and Revenue Update for May. Quote, Washington job growth has been weaker than expected, and revisions have lowered the level of employment. Employers are also sounding the alarm about the crushing tax and regulatory burden being imposed by Washington lawmakers. A new study by the Association of Washington Business found Washington is one of the most expansive and complex regulatory environments in the country. And that burden is affecting jobs, business growth, and investment decisions. Half of Washington's regulatory requirements qualify as duplicative or redundant. And by a broader measure, up to 70% can be classified as administrative red tape. At the same time, multiple Mountain State West states, including Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming, rank among the least regulated in the nation, offering regulatory environments that are markedly less burdensome. And of course, there were the recent comments from former 2-term Democratic Governor Christine Gregoire. I mean, when even Christine Gregoire is calling you out, you know you have problems. That's how bad it is. Here's what she said.
Do you think majority leaders understand, do you think our legislature understands the impact of the policy environment as it relates to the economy?
No. I really don't. As evidenced by, you mentioned the estate tax. I argued to some folks about the estate tax. We were the highest in the country, tied with Hawaii at 20%. We went to 35. We're not just the highest. We're beyond the highest. And I said, now, you understand the consequences of this. Can I see your fiscal note? Because I'd like to help it. Because here's what you can expect. Those people are not homeless. They will not pay. They're leaving. When they leave, they stop paying cap gains. When they leave, they stop giving significantly to philanthropy, which would otherwise be necessary by government. So do you understand, do you see the consequences of what you're doing? And the answer is no. I left office with a budget of $33 billion. And the budget today is $80 billion. I think that's a little bit too much of a growth. And yet, how we find ourselves at the end of every legislative session now is in the hole and projected to be in the hole. I would suggest to you, we don't really have an income problem. We have a spending problem. And we're answering... And we're answering it by stacking one more tax, one more rule, one more regulation. And the one thing that the business community doesn't need is that lack of predictability. How many people in either of the Democratic caucuses have come from a business past? Okay? So if you haven't come from it, you don't know it, you don't understand it, and therefore, to me, we all collectively, and Chris and I have talked a lot about this, have to educate from the outside in. We have to explain things like sales tax on services you thought was a nice attack on big business. And here are the small businesses that have been tremendously adversely impacted, as well as the customers.
Christine Gregoire sounds like she's been listening to the Ari Hoffman show, doesn't it? I mean, literally right there. I have no notes. I have no notes at all. Wow. Christine Gregoire, in your old age, you're becoming pretty Republican. Actually, my father used to work with Geraldine Ferraro. Geraldine Ferraro was at my bar mitzvah. For those of you who don't know who she was, first woman to run for vice president of the United States. She lost, but yes, her and my father used to work together, so she was invited to my bar mitzvah. And my father said later in life, she was actually becoming more and more conservative. Is this what happens? Democrats see the result of their policies and go, well, that didn't work. Wow, Christine Gregoire. Why couldn't you be like that when you were in office?
Yeah, somehow time you reach a certain age, I find, and Fox News is on in the background the entire time. So you can't help but just start to subscribe. Exactly.
Start listening to the Ari Hoffman show when you're driving. I understand. I understand the assignment. So, interesting. Fascinating. But meanwhile, Christine Gregoire saying all this, has Bob Ferguson listened? Has he signaled, hey, things are bad? He can't admit that he's wrong. Can't admit that he's wrong. This report here from Como News, which is the one that had the poll in it, I believe. Washington cities stand to lose millions of dollars in revenue under sales tax exemptions that take effect in 2029. The crux of the law imposes a 9.9% state income tax on anyone or any household making more than $1 million annually, but the new law also includes sales tax exemptions for hygiene products, diapers, and over-the-counter drugs. So now you're saying that they're going to do this big income tax thing, but they're reducing the sales tax here, so what a mess. What an absolute mess they're making right now. Because then who are these municipalities going to go begging for help from? Oh, right, the state government. This is just going to keep getting worse. And just watch, this is just going to keep getting worse and worse because revenues are already down. Because when all those wealthy people leave that you're counting on their money for, how do you plan on paying for anything? Oh, I know, just raising the taxes on everybody, right? According to the Center Square, state transportation officials are considering raising toll rates on I-405, State Route 167, to $18. To $18. That's more than they charge to cross the George Washington Bridge in New York. That's crazy. And you have to pay that, what? You have to pay that 2 directions every day? That's insane. That's absolutely insane. Oh, yeah, don't forget, they're ending the tax exemption for precious metals. Coin shops are now warning of higher prices, so now you're going to kill another industry. They'll get out of here. And then I don't know if you saw this report the other day. Notices started going out this week that Meta is laying off 8,000 employees, or 10% of its workforce. Now, I know they said this is nationwide. I know they said that, but Starbucks keeps saying that. And yet every time I look, Starbucks is hiring people in Nashville, but they're firing all the people here in Seattle. So when Meta says they're laying people off because of AI, Meta has already laid people off in the Seattle area. Meta has also scaled back its plans for expansion and development of new campuses in Bellevue. And they're the business-friendly ones. How many of these 8,000 jobs do you think are going to be in our area? Now, I don't know how many people Meta employs in our area because they have different divisions and such. I don't know the exact number. I'll count on one of you sending that in to me shortly. I assume not all the layoffs are here. Usually they use economic downturns as an opportunity to cut the fat, and then they blame AI. But I guarantee you a chunk of them are going to be here. Are we already up to 30,000 jobs lost since January of this year? 30,000 jobs. How many more are we going to lose? How many more? This is the Democrats' legacy. This is what they do. Craziness. Absolute craziness. We go to the KVI studio line, take a call from Ben in SeaTac. Ben, what's going on?
Hey, Ari.
What's up, man?
The thing with the Robert Massey defeat, everybody's Israel this. I've heard
you mean Tom Massey? Tom Massey?
Tom Massey, yeah, the guy who consented. Hey, and the thing is that if you supported Trump's agenda, which I do 100%, I want more tariffs, I want lots of tariffs. You can't vote for.
Hang on a second, Ben. Are you on speakerphone? I can barely hear you, man.
Yeah, I'm sorry. How's it?
There you go. Okay, thank you, Ben. What's up?
Yeah, so if you supported Trump's agenda, which I do, all of it, including tariffs, lots of it, you can't vote for Massey. You can't vote for a guy like Rand Paul. You got to vote. You got to get those libertarian thinkers out because I don't like libertarians anyway. I think they're kind of retarded. That's the only way.
Whoa, Ben. Let's do this, okay? Let's do this first of all. Let's just stop right there for a second, okay? First of all, when we are discussing the libertarians for a minute, we can do it this way, and we can say, well, how come libertarians don't win more often? And the reason is because if you want to get anything done, then what you have to do is you have to work with other people. And while people say, oh, he's so brave for voting no on anything, Tom Massey has no legislative accomplishments, not a single one in the 14 years he was in Congress, not one, because he didn't work with anybody. And you say, oh, you're compromising your principles. No, there are plenty of places where you go, hey, I will give you a vote for this bill. If you add this rider to it, if you add this policy for it, if you do this, if they know you're a no vote, you have nothing to give them. If they know that every time, they know you have nothing to give them. And that's Tom Massey. Now, Rand Paul is, one second, I'll get to you in 1 second, Ben. Rand Paul is very, very similar. But if you look at his legislative agenda, he goes, where do we overlap? Where do we align? And then he actually gets some stuff done. Go ahead, Ben.
I think the libertarian philosophy is extremely utopian. The reality of their free trade is that China gets bigger and bigger and huger, and just for one. And then the real hardcore libertarians don't even believe we should have a border or an immigration policy. I mean, it's a super utopian fantasy worldview that in the real world just doesn't work at all.
When I was invited to speak at the local libertarian convention with John Carlson, I saw it and I said to myself, I don't know the difference between you guys and the left, because they don't want law and order. They want you having guns. And as much as I'm in favor of having guns, you need a police department. You need an FBI. You need these agencies. Are there problems with them? Absolutely. But their solution was to get rid of all of them. And where libertarians really lost me was their drug policy. Do what you want. Yep. Do whatever you want. And it affects all of us. So, yeah, I mean, I like some of my libertarian friends, but most of my libertarian friends who think they're libertarian are not actually libertarians. They think they're libertarians, and then when I tell them libertarians are, they kind of go, oh, that's not me. Ben, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues, my friends, including the fact that a local superintendent was arrested today. Why? Because they're a mandated reporter. And instead of reporting what was going on with sexual abuse of students, they were covering up for their teacher buddies. We'll give you all the details when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. I hope this is the beginning of a trend, because police in Longview, Washington just arrested a local school superintendent. Now, they say there's more charges coming on another school official because they're accusing the superintendent of trying to cover up a student's report of a sexual assault. According to the Longview Police Department, today, Thursday, May 21st, 2026, at approximately 9:26 a.m., the Longview Police Department arrested Karen Clone Ninja. Karen the Clone Ninja, superintendent of Longview Public Schools, as part of the ongoing investigation related to the report of sexual assault case involving students at Mark Morris High School. Charges include tampering with a witness, which is a felony, failure to report, which is a gross misdemeanor, obstructing a law enforcement officer, gross misdemeanor. Additional charges are forthcoming from Andrew Schoonover, Executive Director of Student Services for Longview Public Schools, including but not limited to failure to report, making a false or misleading statement to a public servant. Quote, this investigation required a significant amount of time, coordination, and evidence to review, said the police chief, whose name is Robert Huta. We understand the significance of this case has in our community and the concern it created for students, families, staff, and the broader public. According to the probable cause statement, detectives developed information that Mark Morris High School staff and district leadership were made aware of allegations involving physical and sexual misconduct involving students as early as January 29th, 2026. Detectives further alleged Superintendent Karen Cloninger was made aware of details involving multiple students, including allegations that one student was forcibly dragged into the Mark Morris High School varsity team room, pinned to the ground, and partially disrobed. The probable cause statement further alleges Longview Police Department leadership directly contacted Cloninger on February 5th after reports began circulating on social media and asked whether law enforcement assistance was needed. Detectives allege law enforcement was informed the matter had been investigated by the Longview School District and handled internally. That's a no-no, guys, when it comes to stuff like this. And let me tell you why. There's something they teach you, and I know this because I was a youth director for 20 years. When they do the orientation every year you got to sit through the same orientation about what a mandated reporter is. If you work with kids and something not kosher is going on, you have to, if you see something, say something. Not cover up, allegedly, for your other teachers' union buddies. I will remind you that Democrats in Olympia wanted to make a longer waiting period before they actually had to contact authorities when reporting this kind of stuff in schools. You are a mandated reporter. It's not, we're gonna handle this in the family. You know, you guys get mad at cops for the blue wall of silence, as you call it. What about the teachers? What about the teachers? Now, as I say all the time, you want to cut back on this stuff a lot? Cameras in every single classroom. And the reason they won't do it is because they know those are subject to public disclosure, and then you will find out what they are teaching your kids. There should be cameras in every single classroom. You know, I actually had a meeting with somebody who runs a preschool over at the synagogue with me. At the synagogue the other day, I had a meeting. And we're talking about where to put more cameras. Because the interior is very well covered. The exterior could use a little bit of work. There's some blind spots, so we want to put some additional cameras in. That was one of the first things we made sure of when we finished the brand new building. Where are the cameras going? And in addition to the cameras, you know what else we have? You know how school doors have those little tiny, teensy tiny windows on the doors? These are massive windows on the doors. There's no way you can't see what's going on in the classroom just to avoid the appearance of impropriety. And these schools don't even do that. These schools cover it up. These schools don't report it, which is beyond crazy. Now, we have had case after case after case after case after case of this stuff. It seems like at least once, if not twice a week, we have another case of another teacher behaving badly. And what do we find out in 90% of these cases? The majority of the time, we find out that the school knew, the school said they handled it internally, and didn't actually handle it internally. And it's not just out in Longview, Washington. We've seen it in Mercer Island. We've seen it in Seattle. We've seen it all over the place. This consistently happens where they don't inform the police what's going on. I understand that sometimes it's somebody making false allegations, and you don't want to tar and feather somebody for life. You don't want to destroy somebody's life. But if there's a there, if there's something, just contact the police and ask for a little bit of help. It doesn't mean the cops are going to raid your facility. There's nothing wrong with asking for a little bit of help. And then you're covered, by the way, legally. And you might be able to get to the bottom of it quicker. And you might not have a problem. But these schools are so anti-police and don't want police on campus. Some of them are so progressively left, even in red counties, that they won't do it. That they won't do it because they think police are evil. I think back, I think my first year on air, there was a homeless guy who had gone into a school in Seattle somewhere. He had just walked in and started creating all these problems. And I asked for the body camera footage. I got the body camera footage. And the story was no longer the crazy guy. The crazy guy was, okay, there's a crazy guy in a school, cops tased him, fun. Fun for everybody to watch. Crazy thing for me was I had the body camera footage of every police officer. Some of them were getting yelled at by the teachers. Some of them were getting lectured by the teachers. So there's a crazy lunatic in the school who's a threat to children, and you're getting mad at the cops. You're getting mad at the cops. Craziness, absolute craziness. Whenever they say, yeah, there's some bad apples who are cops, I go, great, now do teachers. Now do teachers. They never do it. They protect their own. I hope that every superintendent is watching this. I hope that every superintendent heard about this. And I hope that if, God forbid, these allegations are true, that this superintendent goes to jail and that this student services person goes to jail to set an example to everybody else. What happens if you don't follow the law and you don't follow your obligation as somebody who's in charge of children? We go to the KVI studio line, take a call from Robert in Auburn. Robert, what's going on, man?
Hey, you're talking about things financially here in the greater Seattle area. And one of the things that I've never heard any of you talk about is people that own buildings like downtown Seattle. If I were to own a building downtown Seattle, you know what I'd be doing right now as they're fixing rents and that? Is I'd be going out and getting a loan against the building, as much loan as I could possibly get my hands on. And then what I would be doing is taking my money somewhere else and declaring bankruptcy. And the next part of this equation that plays out is like back under Bush number 2, where, you know, the banks are all of a sudden holding all this property that they can't get rid of. And that's what's really going to happen here in the greater Seattle area with fixing rent and all of these crazy things that these people keep coming up with. But I haven't heard any people kind of like talk about that as a procedural
Well, Robert,
step.
I think you need to listen to the show more often, and let me tell you why. Because we did discuss this, but we discussed it a little bit differently, because I'll show you the trend we're seeing. And I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying people aren't doing that. But from a landlord's perspective, because I do property management, from a landlord's perspective, a lot of landlords already have those buildings mortgaged. So they're not mortgaging them more because you can't get your mortgage higher because the building already is missing a whole bunch of tenants and nobody's going to give you more money on that building. So instead what's happening is they are already surrendering properties to the banks. And this is what we saw happen in San Francisco when you saw Westfield Mall say, take the mall, gave it to the bank. When you saw Hilton Hotels say, take the hotel, and gave it to the bank. So what you're talking about is happening from a different angle, but it is happening. And one of the problems we're having, like, look at Martin Seelig. Martin Seelig is one of the biggest landowners in downtown Seattle. He's got a huge vacancy problem. The Seattle Times loves to beat him up all the time, but the Seattle Times doesn't realize that means how many people are not downtown anymore. The latest numbers I saw, we went from 33% vacancy to 35% vacancy in downtown. And I was thinking as I was driving in this morning, I said, man, traffic's gotten a lot lighter around here. It used to be backed up all the way to I-5 where I would get on, like I wouldn't even take I-5. Now it's a pleasure taking I-5, but it's a pleasure for all the wrong reasons. Robert, appreciate the insight. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Up next, another illegal alien with the last name Singh kills more people, allegedly, while driving a truck illegally with a CDL issued by California. Give you all details when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show. Another illegal immigrant truck driver from India was arrested on Tuesday after allegedly causing a deadly multi-vehicle crash in California that killed 2 people before attempting to flee the scene on foot, according to the Department of Homeland Security. Fox News' Bill Malugin first reported that federal officials identified this guy and said, yep, he's an illegal alien. He is. And guess what? His last name is Singh. That makes him the 4th guy named Singh who is found to be an illegal alien who is operating a truck with a California CDL in the last, year or so.
Another one.
Exactly. I mean, how many examples do we need of this? Like the guy in Florida who got a Washington CDL, then used it to upgrade to a California CDL.
Another one.
Exactly. His name was Hajinder Singh. Then we had the guy here who killed the young father out in Renton, or was it Auburn? Renton or Auburn out on 167?
Another one.
How many? Four of these, all with the same last name, and they're not related? Singh is more common than Smith here in Washington. Or excuse me, here in America. It's more common than that. It is crazy, the regularity with which this is happening. It's getting worse and worse and worse. He now faces multiple charges, including vehicular manslaughter with gross negligence, hit and run, resulting in death or injury, resisting arrest, obstructing a police officer. ICE has lodged a detainer, and I reached out to the California Highway Patrol today. Paunch himself got back to me. No, it wasn't Paunch. Paunch would have actually enforced the law. That's right. Eric Estrada, he always got his man. Yeah, he wasn't the one who got back to me. You know who got back to me? They said, yeah, we can't tell you if we're going to keep it or not. That's the individual jurisdiction. I'm like, great. Who'd you turn him over to? Which jail is he in? Are they going to honor the detainer? Because let's not forget the guy who killed the young father out in Auburn on 167 here in Washington. That guy was released and flew the coop in the wind. Don't know where he is. Gone. Poof. Vamoose. Really bad timing, by the way. When you had Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass say that we should explore letting illegal aliens vote in American elections. Really bad timing.
Councilmember Hugo Soto Martinez, who has endorsed you, he wants to explore ways to let non-citizens vote in city elections. I know that there are some cities that already do this, but politics is all about timing. With Donald Trump in the White House, is this the right time for Los Angeles to go down this path?
Well, I think we need to explore it. Now, I've not seen exactly what he's calling for. I have a little familiarity of what happens in other cities, and for example, some cities will allow people to vote in like city council and school board elections because they pay local taxes, but they are not necessarily undocumented. They might be here completely legally, but have not finished the citizenship process. So we'll wait and see.
Wait and see. That means yes, but I'm in the middle of a very tough re-elect, so now's not the time to do it. Sounds to me like she wants people, she should have just said no. No. You have to be a citizen to vote. That is the correct answer. But because Spencer Pratt has his amazing viral ads and the guy seems to be everywhere, she's in trouble. Babylon Bee had a great headline about her today. They had a hillside on fire because there's more California fires starting right now. And it goes, white smoke means Karen Bass is still mayor of Los Angeles. We go to the KVI studio line, take a call from Dana in Snohomish. Dana, what's going on?
Hi there. Probably sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I believe we are witnessing the largest, at least financial land grab in our nation's history. I believe that the Dems are destroying our cities, and they will end up waiting people out, buying the land cheap, and magically the cities will get better.
Dana, have you ever seen RoboCop?
I have years ago, but yes.
Isn't this the plot of RoboCop?
Oh my God, you're right.
I will tell you, is that...
And of course they're not innovative, right?
No.
So they stole an idea too, right?
And they don't have the really cool robots to go with it. They don't have those big, I forget, Omicrons, whatever they're called, the big giant things. What are Omni something? The big suckers. Kevin's giving me a look. They have a name. Oh, yes. Kevin's going the Google machine. You know what I'm talking about. Those big suckers that have the two legs and the guns on the side. Maybe the company's Omicron. Whatever it is. It's been a long time since I saw that movie. But yeah, that is the plot of RoboCop. And I've been saying that. I mean, Dana, think about this. In Homeless Inc. in King County. Think about Homeless Inc. in any county in our area. What does Homeless Inc. do? Hey, developer, that's a really nice building you have. You ever think about selling it to us for 3 times its value? Hey, hotel that not that many people are going to during COVID. Hey, how about you sell it to us for 3 times its value? That's literally what's happening. That's what's happening right now. We're going to call it RoboCop move, or the Robo. That's what we're going to do from now on. Oh, Kevin's got the name of the robots. Hang on, Dana. He's got the name.
It's ED209.
ED209
is the name of the robot, but I think you're talking about the company.
The company is they're Omicron's robots or whatever, right?
Something like that. I'm on Wiki right now. It's they got a whole page. It's going to take me a while.
It's okay. It's okay.
I
know this is
for Enforcement Droid Series 209.
There we go. Thank you very much. Okay, Dana. Now you can say you remembered RoboCop from the Ari Hoffman show, okay?
My husband will be so proud.
Dana, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go back to the KVI studio line, take a call from Carol in Kirkland. Carol, what's going on?
Hi. So the gentleman that called about creating a bankruptcy, letting your number one, taking the loan on your property, and then at the highest value. So I'm in that business, and I've been through 2 bailouts, and I'm not in the business of doing it, but I am always involved because of what I do on the initial startup of the planning of that project, and then oftentimes getting that project ready for the banks to be able to legally sell it when they put it into bankruptcy. So you have to have kind of done this stuff. So what is going on now that's easy for everybody to see, and I'm going to give everybody a name, Arch Housing. So that organization needs to be investigated, and it will string back to big pension funds which is where those big bailouts occur, because in the pension funds, there's not very much policing of the investments. So there, as you know, pension funds are where corruption goes. So people look around at all these big apartment buildings and all the pushing for housing. Those buildings are primarily empty, as in 20 to 30% occupancy. Now, there are buildings coming out of the ground right now that are already in this plan. So what in the process? So what happens is they build the building. The banks, in many cases, it's not a bank; it's an investment fund that's paying for it. They pay for it. They know they're going to get that back, so they're borrowing at full amounts right now. The owners can come back at pennies on the dollars and buy those buildings. They're not going to buy these. A lot of these buildings are just going to they're going to just take them down. So all that's happening is these buildings that you see going up, and everybody says these ugly as sin, and there's hundreds of them. The city planners are very much involved with this. The city managers, Kirkland is a hot spot for it. Bellevue's a little more heavily policed, but it has happened over there. But you look at Seattle, all over the state of Washington. It's happening all over the country.
I'll tell you what, Carol. I'll tell you what. Send me some information on this. I'd love to read it. I really, really would, and study this. We got a long weekend coming up, and I love reading through things like this. Do me a favor. Send me whatever you got. I'd love to look into this. ARI@kvi.com, okay?
All right, we'll do.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Carol. Appreciate you being part of the show. Appreciate your contribution. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757.
Omni Consumer Products.
That's
created
what it was. I knew it was Omni something.
OCP.
Something like that.
OCP.
The OC. I knew I was close. I knew I was really, really close. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. We have a win for foster parents against Washington's woke agenda. Tell you what happened when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Well, welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. We are giving away a pair of tickets to Bingo Loco at the Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel. It's like bingo on steroids. There's comedians, there's DJs, there's confetti showers, there's fantabulous prizes. It's amazing. DJs, fantastic. It's incredible. I really hope I get to go. You can find out all the info and get tickets at snowcasino.com. That's SNO casino.com. But right now, you have your chance to win 2 tickets. So today, we're giving away 2 tickets to Bingo Loco at the Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel. And all you have to do is text the word I give you to the number I give you. Do not text your name. Do not text your address. Do not text your phone number. Like Liam Neeson, if you win, we will find you. And we will reward you with fantabulous prizes. So, today's word is bingo, as in there was a farmer who had a dog and bingo was his name-o, as in Bingo Loco. That's B-I-N-G-O, 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 and bingo was his name-o. Text the word bingo to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go to the KVI studio line. Take a call from Craig in Puyallup. Craig, what's going on?
Hey, we're going back a few minutes here, like 15. Police at a scene, how they're perceived, how they're received. I had experience years ago. I worked as a reserve officer in a small town near Fife and Tacoma, rhymes with Hilton with an M.
Yes.
And there we go. Long enough that everybody's retired. Anyway, I got called for a domestic. Went into the domestic, and things literally are flying. Shoes, plates are being thrown. I'm getting called every name in the book. The guys are letting me let me learn the ropes. I end up arresting the person. They go to the Buckley jail.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, time goes by. 2 weeks later to the day, I'm working for a private ambulance company in that area.
Hang on one second. Craig, hang on one second. Yep. You have me on the edge of my seat. Yep. I want to hear the end of your story, but I have to go make a few. I got to go make a few bucks during a commercial break here. So hang on one second. Stay right there. Don't go anywhere. We're going to have you on for final hour free for all, and I want to hear the entire story. Hang on one second. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show's final hour free for all. Your calls, your texts, your thoughts, your stories, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the KVI studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, somebody who does harm reduction is arrested for dealing drugs. I don't really see the difference, my friends. But before we get to any of that, we go back to the KVI studio line where we last left off. Our hero Craig showed up to a domestic violence call with things flying every which way, and he was in the thick of it. Craig and Puyallup, go ahead, catch us up from where we go from there.
There I was as a reserve cop, and arrest the guy, take him to the Buckley jail. 2 weeks go by to the day, and at that point, I'm working for a private ambulance company, which I got with my full-time job. Same address, same event, same people. When I walked in there as a reserve cop, I had things thrown at me. I walk in there wearing a different uniform, same hairstyle, same me. I got hugged by the people. Like, literally said, oh, God, thank God, the fire department's here. Okay, I was a private ambulance. Everybody mixes it all up. But they, like, physical contact. Like, whoa, stop. And my cop buddies are laughing. They're like, yeah, dude, this is your life if you're a cop, which is why I was not a cop for a living. And that's how it goes. Cops are absolutely, as my dad would say, there's 2 strikes and a half a swing against you when you're a cop and you show up somewhere, especially on a domestic. You can't win.
Yeah,
And body cameras, they help.
Right.
But, I mean, nobody, cops are called when something's going wrong and they got to deal with it. Fire department, fire department, ambulance, they show up to make things better.
Right. Well, I will say this, is that cops show up and one half of the people in that room are mad the cops are there because they're the ones who are in the wrong, right? So already you got that against you.
Absolutely.
I'll say this, is that...
Oh, yeah. And I went to a restaurant in that town.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks later, and it's like, oh, behind the counter making food is the guy I arrested. I'll have the coffee. Thank you.
Yes. So a lot of my friends are in the New York Police Department. In fact, they actually just got in their 20s and they left the New York City Police Department. A lot of them are, getting their pension and everything else, and now they're doing private security or other jobs. And what really meant a lot to me was when we were talking about all the defund the police stuff and they were calling me and saying, thank you for sticking up for cops. I didn't realize how few people did it. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there who do, but not everybody has a platform. And I'll say this, and Craig, you correct me if I'm wrong, but it's nice when somebody comes up to you and goes, thank you, or something like that. Just a simple thank you, or is that something you guys don't even want?
Thank you's great. I'll be honest with you, having a son in the military, having done this type of work, fire department, et cetera, for my career. Thank you for your service. A little cringy, but a thank you, a thumbs up, a nod, a wink and a thumbs up. That is flipping awesome. That means a ton. I mean, cops don't have it good. It is a hard row to hoe, as they say. It's difficult. And it's just, a smile and a nod means so dang much.
Yeah. In fact, there's actually a police officer who hangs out the synagogue when he's doing paperwork. He says, if I'm going to do paperwork in my car, I might as well be here watching the synagogue, which is very, very nice of him. And whenever he's out there, I always offer him food. He always says no. And I said, dude, we can tell you when we're having events and then you can get the food. And he always laughs about that. But, when you're nice to the cops, they show up more often. And this is the kind of thing that I tell people all the time, is that by demonizing the police, when they show up, now you're going to have a bigger problem because the kids have been trained against them. There was this issue in the 1970s and 80s. I read about this in a magazine a while ago. They had to train kids to like firefighters because the kids were confused during a fire and thought Darth Vader was coming for them in all the gear. And
firefighter friendly. I used to do that. They would put us in the gear, and my face is all covered with my this self-contained breathing apparatus, gloves and everything, but I would put that on in front of them so they could see me. And then they were like, oh my gosh, that's you. You're the same person. So that was a big deal. And it's also with the police department, I was testing both. And if Tacoma Fire was hiring 5 guys and Tacoma Police was hiring 5 guys, there'd be hundreds of people testing. And I say guys, men, women. There'd be hundreds of people for each, testing. And now it's not so much for the cops.
Yeah, and not just that, but all the regulations they've put on because they're trying to get rid of the white guys or anything else. That's part of the problem too. Craig, God bless you. God bless your son.
I ran into. Yeah, hey, he did good. He's a good kid, and he votes conservative. So
well, Craig, appreciate that. Appreciate you being part of the show. Appreciate your perspective. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go back to the KVI studio line, take a call from James in Tacoma. James, what's up?
Yeah, I won't mention the high school name, but there's a high school in the state of Washington where a group of students complained about the school resource officer carrying a loaded gun as post position.
Wait. Hang on. James. I think you got the story a little messed up. Let me explain what happened, okay? In Bothell High School, the North Shore School Board on Monday voted to get rid of the school resource officer because they, not the students, the school board, wanted to get rid of the school resource officer, the cop on campus. What happened then was all the students in the school walked out in protest in support of the police officer. Hundreds of students. The video's online, and they're mad at the school board. And in fact, the thing that I found most interesting about this, the Black Student Union, which this school board claimed were the ones who complained. The president said, we didn't complain. And when we said, show us the reports where people who are members of our club complained, the school board wouldn't do it. So everybody liked this police officer. It wasn't the kids trying to get the cop off campus. It was the school board.
I heard that some Latino and Black students complained they didn't feel comfortable having an officer.
No, that's what the school board said, James. That's what the school board said. And when the Black students said, hey, that's not true, not in our name, right, that kind of thing, the school board was asked to put up or shut up and couldn't provide the documentation. So the parents, the administrators of the school, and the students are all mad about this. And it's the school board, a 5-person school board, that did it.
Right. Okay, thank you.
No problem. Thank you, James. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Well, my friends, it's finally out, the autopsy of the Democrat Party. And it shows why they lost in 2024. Oh, wait, no, it doesn't show anything at all. In fact, this thing is missing a ton of information. For example, would you like to know what's missing from this report? I will tell you. At no point does it discuss that Joe Biden was senile, and the majority of Americans saw him as senile. And as such, they couldn't vote for the guy. The disastrous debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, where everybody realized the Democrats had been lying about Joe Biden's health. They didn't discuss how nobody liked Kamala Harris. They didn't discuss how people didn't like that you just anointed Kamala Harris rather than having an actual primary process. This was a disaster. It was a disaster so bad that Ken Martin, who is the chair of the Democratic National Committee, said no, I do not, this is not my report. We paid a guy to do it. I didn't think it was ready for prime time, and they pressured me to release it. This report is a disaster. It's an absolute disaster. It's so bad that even Democrats are calling it out. Democrats like Jared Moskowitz said this.
We lost the last election. It wasn't close, okay? But the fact that we can't even tell people why, we're too afraid to tell them the truth. They know the truth. They saw the debate. They saw what happened, right? And they saw that we got killed in the election. We lost every swing state. So they can write whatever document they want, but Democrats know why we lost.
Okay. So, you know why you lost. So what would you say about calling this thing an autopsy?
Like an autopsy is a medical procedure you do over a corpse. And now it sounds like we need a malpractice attorney because we couldn't even do the autopsy correctly.
That's a good line. I do like that one. That's a very, very good line. Now, I will say this also, is that there's something else that's missing from this report, which is interesting. We know that a lot of the reason the Democrats lost was Joe Biden, was the debate, was Kamala Harris, was the economy, was the open borders, all of that. But something else was they lost their own base. Barack Obama in 2012 knew he was in trouble against Mitt Romney. So what did he do? He cobbled together an activist base. Minority groups, anybody who was a far left activist, anybody who had a cause to get him into the White House. Now, these were his people anyway. But what's interesting was this report has been in the works since January. It wasn't ready for prime time, even though it should have been a while ago. Ken Martin said the guy who put it together did a terrible job. He didn't want to put his stamp on it, but he's being pressured to release it anyway. Back in February, Axios ran an article. And it said that the Democrats who are working on the report found that Gaza cost Harris votes. You remember we were joking about it at the time, but these activists kept showing up and interrupting Kamala Harris when she was at speaking events, claiming she was pro-Israel. She's not, by the way. They were claiming that she was. And they were demonizing her. I went to her speech in downtown Seattle when she was on her book tour. 9, 10, 15 times. I don't even remember how many times she was interrupted by these psychopaths hopping up. And what's crazy is, as soon as they were escorted out, once the last one was, Kamala Harris finally decided to address it and basically said she agreed with all their talking points. So these activists, nobody can ever be far left enough for them. But do you remember what they were saying? They were saying stay home and send a message to the Democrat Party. And now if you look who's running in the Democrat primaries right now, every moderate Democrat is being challenged by a far left activist. One is more far left than the other. Here in Washington, the guy going against Lauren Davis is Imran Sadiqi, who's literally head of CAIR here in Washington, the Council on American Islamic Relations, unindicted co-conspirators in the largest U.S. terror financing trial in history. Terror financing. That's what they were funding Hamas. This guy's now running for office. You're seeing this across the country. All the people Hassan Piker is out there stamping for. So back in February, Axios said they were working on this, but you know what report? What's not in the report? What words are not in the report? Gaza, Palestine, Israel, Netanyahu, erased from existence. Because Democrats know they have a really, really big problem. If they admit who their base is, they will lose a lot of old school Democrat support. There are still Democrats who believe in the flag and believe in national defense and believe in working with our ally Israel and other allies. There are Democrats who still believe that. They will jump ship from the party, take their donations, take their votes with them if they see the real version of this report, which is the Democrats covered up for Joe Biden. They're not trustworthy, which means everybody hates Kamala Harris and they anointed her anyway. They're not trustworthy. They're out of touch with the average American because of the economy. They're not trustworthy. You put all that out there and you're going to lose a lot of support. The only thing the Republicans have going for them right now, heading into the midterms, is that the Democrats are in worse shape than them. That's the biggest advantage they have right now. How do we know this? You remember our new friend, Maureen Galindo, who's running in Texas's 4th congressional district? The one who wants to put Zionists in prison camps and castrate them. I kid you not. This is what this woman said. This is what this woman said. It's so bad, AOC is condemning her. It is so bad that Blue Wave or Blue Act Blue, whatever the blue thing is that they fundraise from, shut down her fundraising. But the truth is, she's more in line with the base of the Democrat Party. This is what she said.
When I say that I want billionaire Zionists in prison, that does not mean I want Jews in internment camps. So why am I getting a whole bunch of death threats and MAGA insults? Which actually makes sense, I realize. Like, MAGA and Jewish Zionists apparently are the exact same people. They talk the exact same way, and that's because MAGA is developing Christian Zionism. That's how they want to create a religion state in the United States of America, is through MAGA, which that's the goal of Zionism, is to create these white supremacist religion states. So, like, I don't care what religion you are. If you are a Zionist, meaning that you believe that you are just entitled to land, or someone's just entitled to land based off of religious beliefs, and that you'll kill all of the Semites for it, then yeah, I think that you're a danger to humanity and belong in prison, especially if you have the political and economic resources to make that happen. And that's how we will get all of the billionaire Zionists in prison, is through all of the business.
Okay. So let me make sure I got this right. You don't think they're lying about you when you say you want all the Zionists in prison camps, but you want all the Zionists in prison camps, right? By the way, I wonder if this is just Miss Teen South Carolina all grown up now.
I personally believe that U.S. Americans are unable to do so because some people out there in our nation don't have maps, and I believe that our education, like such as in South Africa and the Iraq, everywhere like such as, and I believe that they should, our education over here in the U.S. should help the U.S. or should help South Africa and should help the Iraq and the Asian countries, so we will be able to build up our future for our children.
Thank you very much, South Carolina.
You be the judge. Seriously. So this is who the Democrats are running in Texas's 4th congressional district.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for them.
I laugh to keep from crying. Because this is absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. But I'll tell you, my friends, you know what's even more insane than that? What's more insane is that a guy was arrested who works for harm reduction, a.k.a. giving out drugs, for guess what? Dealing drugs in California. We'll give you all the details on how this relates to Seattle when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, my friends, we are having your chance to win tickets to Bingo Loco at the Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel, my friends. That's right, Bingo Loco is an interactive stage show which takes the concept of bingo, puts it on steroids with making it into an immersive party. The show features comedian hosts, DJs playing the best music, incredible prizes, including international holidays and musical instruments, mountains of confetti showers, onstage dance-offs. You can't imagine all the stuff they throw at you during Bingo Loco. You can get tickets, which are on sale right now at snowcasino.com. That's S-N-O casino.com. But now is your chance to win 2 tickets to Bingo Loco. All you have to do is text the word I give you to the number I give you for your chance to win. Today's word is bingo, as in Bingo Loco. B-I-N-G-O. Text the word bingo, B-I-N-G-O. And bingo was his name. Text that to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. This one here, Robin Lakewood says over on the KVI text line, please warn us when playing the Texas anti-Zionist Democrat. That's very good. Yes, she should come with a warning label. Matt Gilbert says I need to take a shot because I mentioned the Council on American Islamic Relations. Oh, there's 2 shots. I got to do that. We have a game, me and Matt. Anytime I mention it, I'm supposed to take a shot. I can crack open that bottle of bourbon and drink it on air, right? No. Mr. KVI says no. Okay, I don't get to do that. This one here from Dave, as a Bothell High School alum, I am proud that the students still value the school resource officer. I grew to trust and appreciate officers because of DARE and SROs. I kept seeing them at high school football games and always struck up conversations to catch up even years after I graduated. That's beautiful, Dave. Thank you very, very much. 12th Man for Life says that's how Democrats win in our state. Most people are uninformed in our state. Come on, people. Listen to Ari Hoffman every day for the real facts. I love this dude. He's great. This guy's great. This one here. We're looking at this. When will Democrats ever learn? Detroit used to be light up at night, and then it wasn't. The big 3 auto companies realized they could make their product cheaper because of excessive taxes elsewhere. California used to have a flourishing auto and airplane production. The Democrats then turned Seattle, LA's other places into examples of North Korea and South Korea. I repeat, when will they ever learn? This one here from Randy from Bonnie Lake. A good friend has been a second-grade teacher. She is quitting because she is disgusted by what they are having her teach. Yeah, exactly right. Switching gears entirely, we talk about harm reduction on the show. There's no such thing as harm reduction. This is what the Democrats call giving you drugs to help you commit suicide. They claim that if they give you clean needles, if they give you clean foil, fresh foil, clean spoons, you have less of a chance of killing yourself with the deadly drugs you're injecting into your veins or smoking. You know, the drugs that even by touching them can kill you. So, harm reduction activists want to get rid of the stigma around drug use. So, they want to normalize your lifestyle. And what happens is they have these harm reduction allies and staff members who basically give out drugs. I mean, they're helping you kill yourself. It's assisted suicide. It's no different than assisted suicide. At this point, I'd actually call it homicide because you're taking advantage of people who are too mentally deranged because they're out of their mind on drugs to make a good decision. It's not somebody who's in a lot of pain because of cancer or something like that who's having an end-of-life decision, and we can have that discussion. I still got issues with that. We can have that discussion. But this is somebody who is not in their right mental state, and you are helping them kill themselves. You are helping to keep them in their not right mental state. It is just plain wrong. Just plain wrong. Now, when I went up to Vancouver and did an undercover documentary in the injection sites up in Vancouver, they had a safe in this room where they had all the supplies. You know what was in it? Clean drugs. And I love that term, clean drugs. They're not clean. They can still kill you. And I asked them, is that for keeping drugs? I thought you guys don't provide drugs. They go, well, if somebody comes in with drugs they just brought off the streets, better they use our drugs. They're drug dealers. They're drug pushers. They're killers. They're murderers. This is the kind of stuff that harm reduction does here in Seattle. This kind of stuff. Well, now, I saw the story out of Los Angeles, and I said, well, it's about time. A Culver City man who works for a nonprofit organization that distributes syringes to homeless drug users in Los Angeles and elsewhere was arrested today on a federal criminal complaint charging him with possessing fentanyl when police pulled him over while he drove a BMW near MacArthur Park earlier this month. MacArthur Park, that's one of the worst areas in Los Angeles for drug use. Christopher, it's like Remember what the Commons, the Ballard Commons, used to look like during COVID? It's like that. Remember that park that was next to the courthouse during COVID? It looks like that. Where the dog got killed and the man got stabbed and the lady got raped. It's like that. Christopher Barrett Johnson, 42, is charged with possession with intent to distribute fentanyl. Johnson works for People Assisting the Homeless, PATH, a nationwide nonprofit that offers services to homeless people, including street outreach, interim and permanent housing. PATH also serves as a vendor distributing syringes, including at MacArthur Park, a sector of the city characterized by high rates of poverty, with many of its residents and visitors being drug users. Johnson is expected to make his initial appearance tomorrow afternoon in U.S. District Court in downtown Los Angeles. According to an affidavit filed with the complaint during the late evening of May 5th, 2026, police officers patrolling the MacArthur Park area, which is notorious for use and sale of illegal drugs, including methamphetamine and fentanyl, in open-air markets. At approximately 10:20 p.m., officers observed a white BMW without license plates abruptly conducting a U-turn in front of them. Stupid move, dude. You don't make illegal U-turns when you don't have license plates in front of a cop. What are you thinking? The officers then conducted a traffic stop on the BMW. The vehicle's sole occupant was Johnson, who appeared very nervous, the affidavit states. While speaking with Johnson, one of the officers observed in plain view on the BMW center console a plastic baggie containing methamphetamine. The officer also saw Johnson carrying 2 knives in his waistband. The officer then ordered Johnson out of the car. The officers conducted a pat-down search of Johnson, found a plastic baggie containing methamphetamine in Johnson's left front pants pocket. Officers also searched the BMW, located a partially opened backpack that contained more baggies with meth and fentanyl, a digital scale that had fentanyl residue on it, empty plastic baggies, and cash. Found inside the BMW was dish soap container that contained additional plastic baggies containing, guess what? Fentanyl. That's right. The BMW center console also contained cash and a large amount of plastic baggies. So is he a drug dealer, or is he doing this through the harm reduction group? And I ask you, what's the difference? Is there really any difference? Subsequent laboratory analysis confirmed the drugs seized from his BMW in person included at least 142 grams of substance that contained fentanyl, 46 grams of methamphetamine. Okay. If he's convicted, he would face a mandatory minimum sentence of 5 years in federal prison and a statutory maximum sentence of 40 years in a federal prison. These are federal charges from the Justice Department, from the DEA. These are big boy charges, 40 years. So my question is, how many other people who work for harm reduction are not actually reducing harm? How many of them are encouraging it? Oh, that would be all of them. If you do harm reduction, you're not reducing harm. You are helping people kill themselves. So you are part of this insanity. How much of this do you think is happening here in Seattle? I bet you a ton of it. A ton of it. Now, the timing of this could not be worse. Could not be worse. Spencer Pratt released a video today detailing how Karen Bass and Thea Rahman are paying unscrupulous NGOs to increase drug use and hand out needles. One of the ones on Karen's payroll, Spencer Pratt writes, gets busted for distributing fentanyl. Literally the same day he releases a video calling them out for it, that's the day these guys get busted. Amazing. Incredible. Really incredible. Spencer Pratt's doing a great job at that race. He really, really is. We all hope that he wins. President Trump said the other day he hopes that he wins. Karen Bass, meanwhile, she's kind of flailing, I'll say. This is great. CNN asked her, wait a second, you said you were going to end the homelessness crisis. How come you haven't ended the homelessness crisis?
When you talked to Jake Tapper in 2023, you said that your goal was to end street homelessness in LA by 2026. It's now 2026.
And we haven't ended it.
We have not ended it, and we're not close to ending it. How are you so off?
Well, basically, when I said that, it was at the beginning of my term. I am very committed to achieving that goal. I didn't anticipate some of the bureaucratic barriers that I would experience, but I am prepared to take those on now.
Wait. You have been in charge for 4 years. Now you're prepared to take them on? Now you're prepared to take them on. Why should anybody give you another term?
And let me just give you an example. Los Angeles made a decision probably 20, 25 years ago to not address street homelessness, to focus solely on building. And granted, I have fast-tracked 42,000 units of affordable housing.
And that didn't work, did it? So the same failed housing first model.
But it still takes a couple of years. So basically the policy of LA City and LA County was we could accept street homelessness as long as we were building. We didn't anticipate the problem metastasizing.
How stupid are you? How dumb are you? Nobody should ever vote for this woman.
In my 3.5 years, for the first time, 2 years in a row, street homelessness has decreased in our city. There hadn't been a decrease before.
Do you know why there's a decrease? It's because they're deporting all the illegal aliens who are also homeless. That's why. It has nothing to do with your policies. Maybe you're killing enough of them that it's decreasing. It has nothing whatsoever to do with your policies. It has everything to do with the federal government. So excuse.
That is a quality of life issue that impacts all Angelenos. Whether you are unhoused or whether you run a business and your business can't function because there's tents outside, whether you're a parent that's trying to navigate through tents to get to school, or whether it's residents where it has decreased the quality of life. So this is a problem that all Angelenos experience, and we have got to have a commitment that this has to end. The city and the county never made that commitment before.
Yeah, you did. You literally said it was going to be over in 2026. You are the mayor. The buck stops with you. The buck stops with you. So, yeah, you actually made that commitment.
And I found something that surprised me. I found a lot of people who work internal in the system who were very resistant to ending street homelessness.
But you promised that it would go away 100%, and it's only gone down about 17.6%.
Right.
So why should people trust you that you're going to be able to get to the 100%?
Because let me just tell you, for the first time, we've had a decrease at all. There was not a decrease before at all.
Well, I suck at my job, but I only suck a little bit less than the other guy. So can you reelect me? Is that her pitch? Is that really her pitch to get reelected? That's what it sounds like to me.
Because there was no commitment to get rid of street encampments. And we had encampments all over the city. So I would ask for people's trust in the sense that we have...
No. You burn down their houses. You can't even keep water in the fire hydrants. No. You don't get anybody's trust. Not at all. Up next, my friends, there is cause for celebration for foster parents here in Washington because now the woke agenda has been shut down in court. We'll tell you all the good news when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. In Washington State, you want to adopt a kid? Unless you accept certain kinds of gender ideology nonsense, it's a no-go. You want to foster a kid? Unless you accept some of that nonsense, it's a no-go. Kid says they want to be a Jedi Master or a shark or a dolphin or anything like that. Unless you listen to the kid you're trying to help out of a bad situation, it's a no-go. But now that actually might be changing because of a settlement in a lawsuit. Joining us now on the KVI studio line, Johannes Weidman Delfons. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Such a pleasure. So why don't you tell me about this settlement with Washington? Because when I saw this press release from you guys yesterday, I was kind of blown away.
Well, we represent a couple, Jen and Shane DeGrasse, and they were foster parents for 9 years. But then they encountered a new Washington regulation that required foster parents to use a child's chosen name and pronouns. Mm-hmm. This regulation obviously is problematic for any religious person who simply believes in the sanctity of the human body, or that God created us male and female. And long story short, 4 years after initially losing their license, filing a lawsuit, a retraction of the exclusion, and then reapplying for their license, the lawsuit has come to an end, and Washington has agreed to retract its problematic policy.
Okay, so what does this mean going forward? Because a permanent injunction, I mean, that sounds like pretty permanent, but we know how things go here in Washington. What does this mean for those of us that don't speak legalese?
So the intent is that Washington will stop discriminating against religious families. They've agreed to remove the provision requiring parents to use chosen names or pronouns, and they've also agreed to stop discriminating or excluding or in any way punishing someone because they just want to speak or act consistent with their religious beliefs about marriage, human sexuality, that God created us male and female, etc. So the hope and the intent here is that Washington has turned over a new leaf. It's going to start respecting religious diversity, and common sense will prevail, and Christians will be invited back into the system.
So you represent the Alliance Defending Freedom. Do you think this was something that Washington State was petrified might go to the Supreme Court in the United States and they'd lose?
Well, we relied on some really helpful Supreme Court precedents, to establish our legal claims. But there was actually a different case out of Oregon. So kind of, you see there's a pattern here in the West Coast of a different policy that we challenged that had gone to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, and that court is binding on both Washington and Oregon. And that opinion involved a similar regulation requiring parents to use pronouns, which the court held violated the First Amendment. So there was already precedent binding Washington when it tried to punish the DeGrasses because of their beliefs. But thankfully, Washington relented. But we feel very confident that the Supreme Court would have agreed with us because it violates core First Amendment principles that states are not supposed to discriminate based on religious viewpoints.
We're talking with Johannes Weidman Delfons, who is the lead attorney for the Alliance Defending Freedom, about this case where now foster parents don't have to accept the gender ideology that their kids may come home from school with or that they may have when they get adopted. So now how do you get the word out on something like this? Because I'm sure there's a lot of families in this situation who may not know about it, who might be having their own battles trying to deal with this.
Absolutely. We're aware of other families who were deterred from applying or continuing with the foster care process because they saw this regulation on the book and they knew that Washington didn't want them to be foster parents. So thankfully, as part of this permanent injunction against the state, they've agreed to remove the problematic provision. So hopefully, now, the intent is that when foster parents are going through the application process, there's not going to be questions about using preferred pronouns, or if there is, it's going to be very clear that, hey, that's something that maybe they can address later on at the placement stage, but it's not going to be a barrier to certification or licensing up front.
This is great news. God bless you. God bless everybody at your agency for getting this solved, because we know there's a lot of kids who want homes and there's a lot of kids who need homes, and this was limiting those kids having homes because of woke ideology. Johannes Weidman Delfons, really appreciate you joining us today. Really appreciate all the work you and the Alliance Defending Freedom have done in this case. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Only good news to wrap up another amazing episode of the Ari Hoffman Show right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. And first, a quick programming note for everybody. So I'm going to be off tomorrow, but there is going to be an episode with some great segments for you from the week of stuff that you may have missed. We're going to catch you up on that. Plus, your chance to win fantabulous prizes to get more tickets to Bingo Loco will be tomorrow. That'll all be tomorrow, and there'll be some new content in there as well. What's the new content? Denise Whitaker, who is one of the morning anchors over at Northwest News Radio, our sister station.
And you probably know her from Como TV back in the day as well.
Exactly. So you know Denise Whitaker. She's one of the best in the biz around here. So she is doing a special for Memorial Day. And as part of the special she's doing for Memorial Day on Northwest News Radio, you actually get to hear me. Because for part of it, she was interviewing me on my perspectives and why it means so much to me. But it's a really powerful thing. And her husband served in the military. So she's got some crazy stories. Apparently he was one of the guys who jumped into Normandy, not the first time, but when they did the commemoration the second time. She's got some amazing stories. So you're going to get to hear some amazing stuff from her. You get your chance to win fantabulous prizes. Why am I going to be off tomorrow? I am not going to be off tomorrow because of Memorial Day weekend. I'm not taking a longer weekend. Yes, I am taking a longer weekend, but tomorrow's a Jewish holiday. And you think to yourself, how many of these holidays are there? I know Kevin for sure is thinking that this is the one nobody knows about, which is one of the major ones. This is a very big deal, this holiday. So what is this holiday? In the Jewish calendar, this is the date that the Jews in the desert got the Torah, the Old Testament, the Bible, at Mount Sinai. That's tonight, technically. Now, just to go over the story with a bunch of you, why was there all the thunder and lightning and all the stuff that happened at the mountain that we read about in the Bible? It's because the Jews were
global warming?
Not global warming.
Oh.
They didn't have cars back then.
Oh,
it wasn't that.
Sorry.
It's not that now
Climate
either.
change or
yeah,
no?
somebody shut down the core of the earth, and we have to drop a nuclear weapon into the core of the earth to get it. What a terrible movie.
Sorry.
That is really one of the worst disaster movies ever.
I apologize. I took it there.
It's all good. It's funny. I'm fine with it. I'm fine with this. It's really hard to offend me. It really, really is. So what happens? You have the thunder and the lightning because the Jews have spent all this time preparing, 3 days, night and day, preparing for receiving the Torah that they slept in. And God had to wake them up. So what do we do to commemorate this? We commemorate this by staying up all night in Torah study. So people come up with interesting class titles, things to keep you interested, lots of good food, to keep you up all night so you can do Torah study, and then you pray very, very early in the morning, and then you go to sleep for hours and hours before having a very, very big lunch. Another custom of this holiday is to only eat dairy-type foods. And you go, that's an odd one, because Ari's always talking about cow and wine and scotch. And why just the dairy stuff for this holiday? So apparently what happened was the Jews find out when they get the Torah, hey, nothing you have is kosher. But that dairy stuff's a lot easier to be kosher than any of that meat stuff. So your dairy stuff, you're good to go. But that meat stuff, you got to go figure out how to kill them the right way and bless it and bring in the rabbi. And no more McDonald's for any of you. So what happens? That's why we have dairy. So people love cheesecake. Me personally, I don't like the cheesecake because it tastes like a rotten cake. That's why I don't like cheesecake. So for me, people do pies. I like the pies, chocolate pies.
What the hell kind of cheesecake are you eating?
Well, you know me. I'm a picky eater on top of being the kosher thing. I just don't like cheesecake. I have been told that my sister-in-law cheesecake is some of the best cheesecake that's ever been made on this earth. I don't like it. Sorry.
Do you like cream cheese at all?
I mean, on a bagel. I don't like sour cream. I don't like any of that kind of stuff. But yeah,
really? You don't like sour cream?
No, not big on that. That's not my thing. I want a dead cow. I want a dead cow in front of me. Now, a buddy of mine is actually having us over the second day. This is a 2-day holiday. So I'm going to be offline Friday and Saturday because it's Sabbath. Also, I'm going to be offline. And a buddy of mine is having us over for brisket the second day where I'm like, yes, bring on the brisket. I'm very excited about that. Plus, he showed me some scotches he picked up. So I'm very, very excited about that. And also, I'll tell you this story, which is really quick. When I was running for office, this was the first time I got a death threat, was this holiday. But it was one of the times where the 2-day holiday go into Sabbath. So you're talking about 72 hours off the grid. With 8 hours to go, I come home and find a note from SPD on my door. Please contact us. We need to reach you. It's important. And I'm freaking out, but I can't use my phone. I can't use the computer. I can't use anything. So I go to the rabbi in my synagogue and I go, what do I do? He goes, wait 8 hours and then call him. All right, I'm still freaking out. So what do I do like any good Jew? I go to the rabbi of the other synagogue, and I go, what do I do? And he goes, wait 8 hours, and then call him back. And then I waited 8 hours and found out what was going on. But yeah, there was no reason to break any of that kind of stuff. I'll tell you this also, is that this year around this time, and you're going to hear more about this during the special about Memorial Day, why I care so much about this stuff. Years ago, the Jewish veterans came to me and they said, hey, can you get us some kids to put out the flags at the cemeteries? And we were able to do it, and we had done it for X amount of years until the homeless started showing up inside the cemeteries. And when the homeless started showing up, that's when I tried to fix things from politics. Meeting with the city council, oh, how naive young Ari Hoffman was, thinking, all you got to do is talk to your city council member and they'll fix this, right? They'll fix this. Oh, silly Ari Hoffman. And I have the job today because Todd Herman heard the story, heard what was going on, and said, why don't you come on the show? That was because of Todd Herman. He was the first one to have me on radio, and then what do you know? It blew up like lightning, and everybody wanted to have me on. In fact, I did interviews in languages I didn't know. So some people would call me up and be like, okay, we're going to do this in Yiddish. I'm like, I don't speak Yiddish. It's like a dead language, basically. And they said, don't worry, you just tell your story when we stop talking. I'm like, how do I know you're not saying like I'm the devil or something? Listen to the devil talk. Or they said, no, you'll be fine. I think I did one in Russian. And then after October 7th, I did one in Iranian one time the same way. I mean, crazy. I never knew this roller coaster would start because of all that with Memorial Day. That's how this all really came to be. Actually, we had the kids out at the cemetery last night putting the flags on the ground. And there's one kid who was out there, which I'll save for the Memorial Day content. You'll like the story you hear about this one kid because it was so pure. It was so innocent. And as Mike likes to say, wholesome content is wholesome. So that story, I think, we'll save for the show. That story we'll save for Memorial Day. But anyway, remember why we have Memorial Day weekend. As they say, your day at the beach was brought to you by their day at the beach. So remember why we have Memorial Day. It's not so you can go see The Mandalorian and Grogu, which I hear mixed things about The Mandalorian and Grogu. But it's so that you can remember those who gave the last full measure of devotion. That's why we have Memorial Day. So remember that, my friends. That's why we actually have this holiday. So that means that's going to do it for us this week. But don't forget, there will be prizes tomorrow. There will be new content tomorrow. There will be some best of stuff tomorrow and the special Memorial Day episode with me and Denise Whitaker on Monday. That's going to do it for us today. Have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. Honor those who served and gave all. You've been listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.